So I only have Carmen Santiago who signed up to speak for public session. If I have any others. So I have John Sanchez and Sarita, well, they're gonna present. All right, so we're gonna start with the public session. The first one up is Carmen Santiago. Yes. Come on up.
I've got 4 documents here. I've got 4 papers.
Yeah, I saw four, but you get 3 minutes.
4?
Yes.
So you answering on 4 questions?
So you get 3 minutes for public session.
But there's 4 questions, 4 documents.
Right, so let's hope to get those 4 questions in 3 minutes.
This thing is broken. Okay. Okay, so the first one is, good evening, community. My name is Carmen Santiago, longtime community resident and activist. So the first question is specific, the board and all people associated with the board, as far as politicians are concerned, what are you doing about rewriting the Oasis contract to eliminate syringes from being handed out to our added special needs populations? Brothers, nephews, cousins, sisters, aunts, mothers, fathers, and including possibly, this is just an idea, a 90 to 120 day inpatient care program to be mind, body, and spirit free from the addiction and enslavement of drugs.
Who are you asking that question to?
To the board.
What are we doing?
Yes.
About that?
Yes,
So
answer, yes.
I do want to say that our community board has a health and human services committee that meets monthly and has been working with community organizations and other partners to try to combat the specific opioid crisis that we have. And so I would welcome you to join that committee, to come in monthly, to bring in your input, your ideas and solutions, because I think, and I don't know if our chair would like to say anything, but we've been, I know that our community board and our chair of Health and Human Services has been working diligently with other partners in terms of this crisis.
What committee is that again?
Health and Human Services.
Third Tuesday of every month.
Okay. So second question, when are our NYPD going to be put on foot patrol? The old school Lahara, the 2-partner patrol walking a given district, so they can see everything that we see on the streets. The drug dealers, the ghost cars, everything that's happening in our streets that we constantly are calling 311 about, or 911. I put this question out to the commissioner about reinstating the foot patrol. In the 70s, we called them Lahara. So that's my second question.
So I don't know if anybody from PD wants to answer that.
Sure. All right.
And we did have them for St. Mary's Park, but maybe only for 3 days. Then they got pulled into the MTA. So
there's a few officers who are assigned to foot patrol every single day. You have.
Can you use the microphone, please?
You have the hub zone, which is 149 3rd Avenue. To that area alone, there's 20 cops dedicated to foot patrol every single day. That includes St. Mary's Park. Then you have the FTUs, the field training cops, who just started, who are brand new officers who get assigned to a foot post every single day, spread out drug command. So there are cops out there every single day assigned to foot patrol.
are they walking? Foot patrol.
They walk the post, they walk practice.
Yeah, keyword is walking. My third question is, you might want to stay around, officer. The Express Drug Dealer Service, it's a dark gray Hemi SUV stationed at the Foot Locker. I did report it, 2900 3rd Avenue. He's got a drug menu, a white drug menu board, like a menu, a food menu in a restaurant. License plate, Lima, Bravo, Echo, 5680. I did report it. He's constantly around the area, along with other drug dealers. That's 3. Well, I mean,
Can you repeat the license plate?
my 3 minutes shouldn't be part of the answer.
We're gonna extend you. We're
Yes,
gonna
thank
extend
you.
We're gonna extend.
The plate is
Can we get the plate
Lima,
number later? Can we just?
Lima Bravo Echo 5680. A gray Hemi, dark gray Hemi. That's the drug dealer. 4th and final, just FYI again, Roma Fashion, 2944 3rd Avenue. I did report it to 311. Every day, racks of clothing and suitcases on the sidewalk. Pedestrians have no space to walk by. Some pedestrians, including myself, some with grocery carts, seniors, baby carriages, wheelchairs are forced to walk on the street and possibly then get hit by an MTA bus or a vehicle. So this is Roma Fashion. The store is inside, the whole store is on the sidewalk, as far as I'm concerned. So unless they're paying taxes for the sidewalk, they shouldn't be on the sidewalk.
So we extended 2 extra minutes, so if we could get the
Right.
response from.
So, okay, you got the drug dealer with the Hemi?
Yes.
Response, please.
So, I'm gonna give a good answer to your question when I speak for the next 7 minutes, but just to quickly give you an answer. If you call 311, you're gonna get loud, cops are gonna respond and try and do it the best way they can. Like I said, I'm gonna segue into that when I speak about what we're doing for quality of life stuff. You could just wait a few minutes for that answer. Again, going back to your other question about the clothes and the street stuff, again, if you call 311, it should get routed to the hub officers who are there every single day, 2 and 20 every single day, and they will address it with vendor operations constantly on a weekly basis, dealing with numerous quality of life threats.
Right, I just can't have my phone attached to my ear calling 311 every day. Roma Fashions is every day. Sanitation comes through and picks them up, tells them go back inside, and they come back out. So we have no space to walk, the pedestrians. Keep in mind wheelchairs, grocery carts, carriages, and people are forced to walk in the street.
I want to give 1 more minute. I know you have another question. I want to make sure you get that question out.
That was the 4.
That was it?
That was the 4.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you
unless
so
you want to expand on any of these.
Thank you so much, Carmen. And I also want to continue to, just urge that you attend our committee meetings, especially Health and Human Services.
Gotcha, and housing.
Yes, and housing.
What else?
There's 13 of them.
I'm gonna clone myself.
All right. Our next speaker, we have Antonio Whitaker. 3 minutes, Antonio. Yeah, let's just get public session out there.
Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Antonio Whitaker. I am the Assistant Director of the Community Affairs Unit at the Department of Sanitation. Pleasure to be with you all this evening. I just have a very brief announcement about composting. So as you all know, the Bronx, Manhattan, and Staten Island just a few months ago received weekly curbside composting pickup from the Department of Sanitation. We ask that you separate your organic material, your food waste, and any organic material that you may have, such as dirt, leaves, twigs, if you own property. Separate that from your trash. We will take that on your recycling day, and we actually ship that out to several facilities here in the city and out of state, where that material gets made into compost, which we then give back to New Yorkers. We also use any access to create renewable energy that we sell back at a discount to folks. So just want to remind everybody that currently up until March 31st, that is until Monday, from March 1st until next Monday, there is currently a warning period. So if a sanitation supervisor or sanitation enforcement were to go by your property or your place of residence and notice that you did not separate your food waste or your organic waste from your trash, you will get a warning basically telling you that starting April 1st, which is next Tuesday, that's when summoning will start, okay? So summoning will start on Tuesday if you fail to separate your organic waste from your refuse, okay? So if anyone has any specific questions about composting in general, how do I do it, what does it do for me, please come and see me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I still have a minute.
Thank you, Antonio. John Sanchez? John Sanchez.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Sanchez from Wasting Nos Quedamos, and I'm also the newly appointed secretary for the EJ Sanitation Subcommittee in Bronx Community Board 1. So I'm very happy to be part of the family. Thank you, thank you. So I would like to announce and invite the general audience to the Bronx cleanups that the EJ Sanitation Committee have organized and planned for several weeks now. And we are going to be cleaning up in 3 different locations. These locations consist of 138th Street corridor between Willis and Cypress. We will also be doing a cleanup in Willis Playground and one last cleanup in Roberto Clemente Square. These cleanups are going to be taking place from 2 to 3:30 on April 12th with a rain date of April 19th. In addition to the cleanups, the Bronx is Blooming will be planting trees around the Jackson Avenue area to help bring greener environment to our community. After the cleanup, you can stick around from 4 to 6. We are going to be having a celebration. Some organizations are going to be sharing about their work and the importance of Earth Day. And we're going to have a DJ to keep the music, to keep the energy alive, and we're going to be providing snacks. So if you'd like to sign up and attend, please stick around and talk to me. I will be around. So thank you so much. So thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, that concludes our public session. We are gonna go into our board meeting now, and what I'm gonna ask, we're gonna change the agenda a little bit, we're gonna amend it, we're gonna add, we didn't include the Rikers, closed Rikers in the agenda, who they're also gonna speak for 15 minutes and present, if they agree, what they presented at the Policy and Legislation Committee this week. So can I get a motion to add them, as number 7 before racial equity? To amend.
I'm almost like making to make the amendment for the agenda, today's agenda.
Can I get a second?
I ordered that, so second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, we are calling this meeting, to order, and we're gonna start with roll call.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Diana Leonard. I gotta get used to the name, so if I mess your name up, please. I apologize from now. I'll get it right eventually. Clarissa Layeto.
Here.
Evelyn Alvarez. Oh, sorry. Mr. Ambrose.
Yeah.
Zion Baldwin. Daniel Barber. Robert Barnes.
Present.
Cecil Brooks Jr.
Here.
Betty Ryan Brown. Stephanie Calzado. Carolyn Chamorro. Maura Cosome. Hasme. Hi. Christina Cover.
Here.
Audrey De Jesus.
Present.
Jacqueline De Jesus.
Here.
Nycha Diaby. Yes? No, she's not here. Okay, Linda Luke. Duke. Josephine Fernandez Byrne.
Present.
Hi, Josephine. Ramona Ferreira.
Here.
No, Brenda Goodwin.
Here.
Christina Lakata. Paloma Martinez. Delomi. Lemoyne. Argelina Ortiz.
Here present.
Emmanuel Pardina. Marilyn Peña.
Here.
Freddie Perez Jr.
Here.
Rosa Pinero. Joyce Pulpis. Claudia Ramon. Jose Rodriguez. Mohammed Sheikh.
Present.
Patricia Simpson. Whitney Williams. And Cesar York.
Present.
Thank you, guys. Chair, we have quorum.
Great, thank you. Okay, we are going to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? We approved the agenda already. I'm sorry. So we're gonna move forward now with our approval for the full board meeting, minutes, sorry. Can I get a motion to approve the full board minutes? Thank you, Mara. Second?
Second.
Cecil, second the motion. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna move into our presentation by Close Rikers campaign. So this is a voting item, and just to preface, you guys can come up to the podium, but just to preface that they did come to the Committee of Policy and Legislation and present. And so this is coming to the board for a letter of support for what they're presenting today.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarita. Thank you for giving us space to speak at tonight's meeting and to the committee for also spending time with us on Tuesday. I'm Sarita. I'm from Freedom Agenda. My colleague Edmund is also with Freedom Agenda, and Anthony Springer with Bronx Connect. So we are all members of the campaign to close Rikers. We're here to speak with the board about how this plan that was approved by the city several years ago, how it's moving forward, and a proposed letter of to the administration, urging them to take steps that we believe would be most beneficial for the success of the plan and for the community. So with that, I will pass it to my colleague Edwin to get us started. As we are pulling up the slides.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Edwin Santana. So today, I'm gonna give you an overview of the coalition, right? So we're a coalition of survivors of Rikers and others. We are 190 organizations working to erase the stain on the city. Closing Rikers doesn't just mean closing the buildings and moving people somewhere else. But for us, it means reducing the incarceration rate, defending the human rights of people in the New York City jails, and shrinking the Department of Corrections budget to invest in that prevention. We're having some technical difficulties over here. Bear with us, please. Okay, no problem.
There are printed slides in the back as well.
Yes, so there are printed slides in the back right there, so if you wanna just check it out later on after the presentation. So why close Rikers, right? So one of the reasons why we should close Rikers is because mass incarceration has been harming the same communities for the past 50 years. If anybody ever knows about, if you Google the 7 neighborhood studies, you will see that South Bronx is one of the neighborhoods that we have identified as one of the places that are targeted for mass incarceration. Yeah, thank you. So, Rikers is undermining both human rights and public safety. We are told the legal system is supposed to be fair and operate on the presumption of innocence. We're told that the incarceration is supposed to be for rehabilitation and that it's supposed to keep us safe. But instead of doing that, what we are told, the criminal legal system does otherwise, and Rikers absolutely does the opposite. people are receiving a death sentence before a trial. 36 people have died since Mayor Adams took office. So, why close Rikers? There's a few things of why we should close Rikers. It enables mass incarceration. It's built to isolate, not rehabilitate. Rikers doesn't address none of the root causes of harm, and it's an enormous moral and financial cost to the city. We are told that the legal system is supposed to be fair and operate of the presumption of innocence, but it doesn't. We are told that incarceration is supposed to be safe for rehabilitation, and that it's supposed to keep us safe. But Rikers, of course, does the opposite. No, that's it. Thank you very much, and I'll pass it over to Anthony.
Good evening. So, thank you again for taking the time. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the Rikers' impact on just this board area. So according to studies, we're looking at 391 people from the zip codes of 10451, 54, and 55 were admitted to Rikers. We're looking at in 2021. That number is a little bit higher now as the jail population has increased. As everyone was just talking about, the enormous cost, it approximately costs $53 million annually. We're looking at an individual to be at Rikers for a year, it's $556,539, so over $500,000 just to incarcerate one person in Rikers. We're looking also at the fact that the Black population in Bronx admitted to jail at 8.9 times the rate of white people. The Hispanic people from the Bronx admitted to jail at 4.8 times that rate of white people. So the approved plan to close Rikers. The good news is that with a lot of advocates organizing around this need, what we have seen is we've seen the city put already an expiration date on this. So right now, the law says that Rikers needs to be closed by 2027. And the closed Rikers plan can be really broken down into 3 specific areas. Those areas are to first decarcerate, which is to shrink the jail capacity to 3,500 people and invest in alternatives that have already been proven to work. We are looking to defend human rights, which is to replace the outdated jails that exist now in Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, and the Bronx, and new facilities designed with human beings in mind. And then the third thing that we're looking at is to divest and redistribute. There's $265 million in funds that is looking to be allocated just for community resources, and then to establish a commission on community reinvestment for the closure of Rikers to guide up to $1.8 billion per year that can be saved by closing Rikers. And then I want to look also at the Rikers population right now. Right now, the Rikers population is over 7,000 people. And that can be broken down into looking at Black, 58%, whites, 8%, Asian, 3%, and others is 31%. 82% of people who are currently in Rikers are actually awaiting trial. They haven't been professed to be guilty or innocent. And the average time that people spend in custody pre-trial is 269 days. And then out of that, there are 62% of people since Mayor Adams took office that are in there that are diagnosed with a serious mental illness. So they actually shouldn't even be in Rikers, they should be in a mental health facility. And I'm going to pass it on to Sarita.
Thank you. So, a component Anthony just spoke about a few of the components of this plan and zoomed in a little bit about the number of people in jail. So a significant component of this plan is to reduce the use of incarceration by investing in proven alternatives. There's also an infrastructure piece of this, which is to close the physical buildings on Rikers and to establish, as we mentioned, replacement jails in each of the 4 boroughs that can provide a better physical environment for a smaller number of people. Those sites have been approved in Brooklyn, the Bronx, Manhattan, and Queens. They are, the sites are moving forward, so they're either in a stage of site preparation, design, or construction in each one of the 4 sites, but they are all moving too slowly. So while the closure date for Rikers Island is 2027, the completion dates that have been announced for these facilities are 2029 in Brooklyn, 2031 in the Bronx, and 2032 in Queens. So in Manhattan, actually, they have not finalized the contract yet, so the expected completion date is 2032. So given the urgency of the conditions on Rikers, we mentioned that 36 people have died in Rikers since this mayor took office, but actually 4 people have died just in the last month on Rikers Island before trial. So there's urgency to get this done, and the 2027 deadline in some ways still feels too far away, but we see the city not on track to complete the borough jails in time. The design of the borough jails are being designed in a way that is a significant improvement from the conditions on Rikers now. We could elaborate in as much detail as we would like on that, but to keep it brief, in general, there's much more program space, much more natural light, and much more personal space in each of the housing units that will be in the replacement borough jails. But we also think there's room for improvement. So while the city is moving forward on this design, 2 main areas that we've pinpointed for improving the design is around the number of beds. So, and we have a chart for you in your packet where you'll see this broken down because it might help to have that visual. But the approved plan had 886 beds for each of the jails in 4 boroughs, so the same here in the Bronx. And 40% of those beds were allocated to be therapeutic beds, 350 of the 886. This administration changed that plan to increase the number to 1,040 beds, but they only had the same amount of square footage to work within. They couldn't increase the height or the size of the building. So the way they achieved that increase in adding beds was to reduce the number of therapeutic units because those take more space. So they cut down the number of therapeutic beds to 220. So a significant change that we want to see is that we want them to revert to the original planned capacity, 886 beds, 350 therapeutic. We also want to see them do better with providing actual outdoor space. So because of some laws that were put in place to raise the minimum standards in 2019, these buildings will have to have an open air recreation space on every housing unit. That is important so that people can get directly to outdoor recreation without a correction officer having to take them, which right now at Rikers in too many cases that doesn't happen. So people end up not getting their recreation. This will give people that direct access. But while they are open air units, they're not outside. They're sort of enclosed with air being able to circulate through from 2 or 3 sides. We want there to be an actual outdoor space as well, either on the rooftop or through the use of a retractable roof on the gym. The way that the building is designed, the gym will be at the 3rd floor level. And with the retractable roof, people could have actual outdoor space. I will actually add one more thing, which a board member, or maybe just recently retired board member Ramona brought up about this is also in the category of design, making sure that all planted areas are using pollinators and natural plants to maximize the benefits to the community and the local environment. So those are some of the things that we want to see amended around the design of the replacement jails. And then I want to name a really exciting thing about the future of Rikers. So while this plan was passed in 2019 that set in place a pathway to closing Rikers, in 2021, a group of advocates followed up with a plan to transform Rikers Island to renewable energy and green infrastructure as the jails close. So that plan outlines that the island should be transitioned out of control of the Department of Correction by 2027 and directed the cities to study the potential for wastewater treatment and renewable energy generation and storage on Rikers. So not only does that enable the city to do a much better job of meeting our climate justice goals, but specifically what we think that should mean is that the South Bronx should be prioritized. Not only has the South Bronx borne more of the brunt of mass incarceration than many communities across the city, but also has been host to a lot of polluting infrastructure. And so as the city, moves forward on this plan and thinks about how could they relocate some of these wastewater treatment plants to Rikers, how could they relocate some of this energy generation to Rikers, they should be looking especially at how they can remove the infrastructure in the South Bronx and free that space up for whatever people want. that could be the next stage of the discussion about, how could that space be utilized for the community once it's opened up. And I'm talking about community space in the Bronx so that other infrastructure moves to Rikers. So we presented to the committee on Tuesday a letter, and I recommending that we believe could be sent to the administration, urging them to take these steps towards implementing the plan to close Rikers and doing it in a way that is best set up for success and for benefiting this community. So I'll read through these next steps, and this is what's contained in the letter. So they're really in two main categories, one around community investment and reducing incarceration, and the second around the physical infrastructure pieces. So the first, under community investment, is to ensure that all of the Bronx funding commitments in the points of agreement are fulfilled, including converting the old 40th precinct into a community services center. So earlier on, Anthony mentioned that when this plan was approved in 2019, there was a commitment for $265 million of new community-based funding, and a portion of that was designated specifically for the South Bronx, and they outlined in detail what should happen. We did provide a list of it's a long list, so we provided that list to the committee members after we met. But essentially every one of those needs to be followed through on, everything they said they would fix, every program they said they would fund. And there's this one particularly visible project in terms of converting the old 40th precinct that we want to ensure that they're delivering on. We also know that that initial agreement to community investments was just the start. We're talking about decades of divestment from this community while that money has been funneled into Rikers Island. So there's a lot to make up for. So we want the city to make additional neighborhood investments recommended by the Bronx Neighborhood Advisory Committee, including rehabilitating the underpass at 135th Street and Lincoln Avenue, establishing a small business kiosk space between 134th and 135th Streets on Lincoln Avenue, and rehabilitating the waterfront spaces located at the end of Lincoln Avenue. So the Bronx Neighborhood Advisory Committee was a group of residents and advocates that were convened by the city and some with the involvement of City Council during 2018 to around 2020 with some gaps, and have had some recent meetings as well. But that committee made additional recommendations about community investments. Then we also want to see additional citywide investments. So this year in the city budget, the Campaign to Close Rikers is advocating for a $39.8 million investment in mental health and housing resources. And that includes several things. It includes supportive housing for people that are returning from jail and prison. It includes community-based mental health treatment teams that have been proven to work very well with people who may not be living in stable housing, may have trouble getting themselves consistently to an appointment at a clinic, but can be served by teams that are coming to them and meeting their needs. And then crisis respite centers, which are centers that people can utilize, that people can utilize kind of proactively as an alternative to hospitalization. People can get a little bit of a respite, a little bit of more intensive mental health care in those spaces. So we're urging the inclusion of, supporting that inclusion in this year's city budget for citywide investments so that we can actually see people's needs met and we can reduce, as Anthony was talking about, the huge spike in incarceration for people with mental illness. On the points about jail design, I'll do these quickly because Mr. Jordan gave me my 2 minute signal. So just to reiterate, we want the city to revert to the original 886 beds and with 40% therapeutic. We want to ensure that true outdoor space exists, including rooftop recreation space that could be accomplished by the retractable roof on the gym. We want to expedite the completion of the facility to align with the legal closure date for the Rikers Island jails. We want to advance the Renewable Rikers Plan with a priority placed on closing polluting infrastructure in the Bronx. And with the advice of committee members, we actually, after this presentation on Tuesday, added a point as well about the staffing to ensure that the city is reconsidering their staffing model to increase the number of healthcare staff and reapportion, and decrease the number of correctional staff. So thank you for giving us the space to present to the full board, and I'm not sure if we have space for questions, but we're happy to take them and think about it. It may or may not be time on the agenda for that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, actually, just, if there are any questions or statements first from board members who have participated and have been actively participating in this process, if you want to say something, feel free to. And then we'll go to questions.
I think what I can share to sort of inspire or push people to support this and to get involved, not only in the closing, but in renewable, is that for me, as someone of indigenous descent, I am Taino. So the first people to contact Columbus in the Dominican Republic. I have a deep understanding of the fact that in any community, there has to be punishment. When people break a rule or pass the line that the community has set, we have to find ways to make amends and to allow that person to make amends. But when that happens, folks should not be dehumanized. And that's what Close Rikers does. I mean, that's what Rikers does if we don't close it. So we have to think about what we do to our family and to our neighbors by allowing Rikers to continue to stay open. One of the saddest moments for me is every time that the Instagram page posts the name and information of the person that's died. It is extremely humbling to see that every month we're losing people that have not been found guilty and oftentimes are suffering from a mental health crisis at the time of arrest. So I think Delorme's not here tonight, the chair of the committee, but I encourage all of you to consider that, right? What does punishment look like to us? And what does amends mean in our community? And how can we use the Close Riker agenda and then renewable Rikers to really make a difference in those two ways, right? And another thing I'll highlight is for renewable Rikers specifically, I wanna hone in on Lincoln Avenue because that's where I live. I'm at 188. And when you think about the end of Lincoln Avenue is where all of the waste comes into the South Bronx, right? And that's a facility that can be shoved over onto Rikers so that we don't have to breathe in that air and we are not any longer the depository of New York City's trash. And I think that's the smallest thing that we could fight for. I am kind of leading the board, so I want to make sure to kind of give you guys those words of encouragement and to really ask all of you to like stick with this plan and to be as aggressive and as greedy as you possibly can be, because money's there to do these things and to do much more for our community.
Thank you. Thank you, Ramona. Any other statements or questions? Ms. Goodwin?
My name is Ms. Goodwin. I'm a member of this board. I'm also the vice chair of the Community Advisory Board in Lincoln. And what I'm here to say is this. I've been a part of this process since they started the new Rikers. I've attended many meetings down there since they laid the first dynamite and started blasting down there. All I ask is that whoever comes, the old or the new, you work with the community. You can't come when you want a presentation. As I told the new, they had me at the last meeting, the planning process. I don't know if you were there. You saw me there. You can't come when it's old. Everybody in this room is going to be involved in this process. This is how we got off wrong in the beginning, because the community was not aware and advised as to the whole process, with the opening and the closing. And a lot of people were affected, homes were affected, lives were affected. At that meeting, I also asked that you form a committee or a group that works with the planning board on an ongoing basis. not monthly, join a committee, so that they will know what you're doing and you will know what they're doing. Now, these are suggestions that we've always had on this board, and I've been on this board 30 years or more. Well, we in this community are a caring community, and you're bringing this stuff in on us, but we need to be a part of whatever's going on. Like I said, this hospital is gonna be a big part of this. And we need to get together with the entities in this district and sit down and have a big meeting so we all can be a part. So that people are not caught off hand, because we've been caught off hand with the dynamiting, you know, and they had a community affairs officer there, and they were very good. But I just ask that the continuity concept be delivered.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Goodwin.
And maybe
I
I
do
should
wanna say-
mention quickly that there is a community liaison that works for the city, specifically on the construction project, Angel Pinto. He's not gone, he's still here. We're an independent advocacy group that, you know, has been the grassroots campaign for this. And I just wanted to make sure, thank you, just wanted to make sure that people knew we don't work directly for the city, but exactly the type of thing that you brought up is absolutely what we should be pushing the city to do together.
Thanks, Sarita. I do want to say that, I do want to echo what Sarita just said, is there are two separate entities, right? You got the Close Rikers Advocacy Group, they want to close Rikers. And then you have the borough-based jail, the city of New York, and the plan that they're doing. They were supposed to be here today, but unfortunately, they changed their presentation date to next month. So I advise everybody to make sure that for that, you're all here, because those are the ones who are actually building and doing exactly what Ms. Goodwin, we want to hold folks accountable. So what Ms. Goodwin said, the borough-based jail team is the one we want. And so Angel Pinto is the one we want to make sure we're talking to all the time. So just wanted to say that. And then, so Cesar?
Okay, I was looking at this picture, say, a plan for renewable Rikers, and I just wanted to know, what are the discussions, or who's thinking about this type of plan with solar energy and things like that? That's one question. What is the process? How can people get involved? I'm more into like the Parks Department, DEP and DEC getting this land and doing ecological engineering. So that's more my approach. So I just wanted to know how can I get involved in this year and in the future of design for this Rikers, close Rikers.
Thank you. I love that question. So the renewable record laws directed the city to do 2 studies, and they have been completed. One is about the potential for wastewater treatment at Rikers, as well as anaerobic digester composting. And the second is about energy generation, renewable energy generation and storage. We can follow up to send the links to those studies that were completed. What they lay out is sort of a number of different scenarios for how this could look, what's the potential for, you know, how much wastewater versus energy generation and storage, how would they apportion that? But one of the key next steps is for a plan that big, and this is something that I'm learning about as we go, is that the city has to initiate a master plan. So they do that process to bring together a bunch of engineers and figure out like, okay, how would this actually happen? What are the water tunnels that would need to be rerouted to, you know, like it obviously has a lot of components. And Councilmember Sandy Nurse has a bill in the city council right now. It's intro 1038. We can also follow up with those details that would direct the city to start the master plan now. So it's one thing that like pushes the city forward on this plan. And we're hoping that there will be a hearing for that bill in the near future, that we don't have a date yet. So those are some of the immediate steps towards that. And yeah, we would love to be working on that transformation of Rikers with you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Laura. I think I echo everyone's concerns regarding Rikers with DOC repeating the same process in our communities. One concern that I have with your letter, well, not a concern, but a suggestion, is the fact that we need to literally have spaces for juveniles who are at Rikers. Most of them are all together. Some young kids are in there with older children. They need to have separate facilities by age. My other concern is, you mentioned 62% of people are mentally ill. 40% is a very low number. I think it really should be at 60 or at least 50%. There is a lot of mental illness, a lot of people who are not being addressed. I would think that we should also request census civic training, education, and cultural training for the staff at Rikers, including even those who are jailed there. It should be a continual thing that docs should do, which they don't do. The other concern I have also is the environmental factors. We all know that these jails do not have working air conditioning and heating. And a lot of the times when it's very warm outside, people get upset. Okay. And I'm done. By the way, so I get a couple of seconds. So I forgot now. So yeah, the environmental factor is a big issue with all the jails in the state with regard to heat and air conditioning, even for the state agencies where we work in. So that in particular should be a concern. And another issue is community advocacy, being involved and then also being involved with our communities, especially with the security around the facility. That's my major concern, and I'm sure everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll maybe address just a portion of that and also ask Anthony to address some of it. Related to the, so air conditioning, one of the things that is required by law for the new replacement facilities is air conditioning and appropriate heating and cooling. I'm so glad you mentioned that that is not the case now. It's not the case in the city jails and also generally not upstate. And it's, we all know with climate change, we're getting more and more extreme weather and people are suffering those extremes at Rikers. So it is another reason why we feel the urgency of, moving people into better conditions. Regarding the staffing, I think that's a great suggestion to add. The proportion, I wanted to clarify a piece of the statistic that we shared. So 62, the number of people at Rikers diagnosed with a serious mental illness is up 62% since January 2022. The percentage of people diagnosed with a serious mental illness overall is 21%. What we were saying in terms of 62% is the spike. So we outlined that to show we've gone backwards on that. We're going in the wrong direction, and clearly there's a need to infuse some resources towards mental health and housing in the community so that we don't see that. So I did want to clarify that statistic. And Bronx Connect works with young people that are both in juvenile settings and incarcerated at Rikers. Because of raise the age laws, the young people incarcerated at Rikers are now young adults. They're 18 to 21, but certainly the juvenile facilities are concerned as well.
Yeah, thank you for your response there. Yeah, as Sarita mentioned, our organization works with young people who have been justice involved, potentially be justice involved. Just looking on Rikers, yes, the ages are a little higher now than they were before because of the raise the age laws. We're really looking at the detention centers and seeing how those things are managed, but that's actually a separate issue from this. But these are concerns that when we're having conversations around the design of these borough-based jails, which are actually happening right now, these are suggestions that we can actually put in.
Last question from Danny Bo, or statement.
Hello. So I'm gonna make my question a statement in light of time so we can move forward and see how we're gonna go with your letter of support. So in your presentation, you spoke about providing housing, supportive housing for the individuals when they leave the facilities and stuff like that. What type of supportive housing? Because what we find out with the city is quick to say something is supportive, and then they change their mind in the middle of the process, then it becomes something else. It's initially supposed to be something like full staff, 24-hour staff, counsel overnight, security and all that. And then once they finish, it's one security guard. And he's scared of everybody in there. And they do anything they want. And then we get stuck with that. So we want Rikers closed, but we need to make sure that Community Planning Board 1 in the confines of this board is stop being used as a dumping ground for the city for everything that they want to dump on the low and very low class people. I'm gonna finish right now, Clarissa, because I watched on the news how the community board in Brooklyn, supportive housing for families, turned into a shelter for families. And they said no, and it's not gonna happen. We say no, and the city and everybody else behind closed doors make deals and it happens. We say no mas, no more. So what kind of supportive housing is this gonna be? And me as the chair for the Public and Supportive Housing Committee, in order for my support, I need whatever housing you wanna do to be put in writing. So that we have that. Thank you, I yield.
Thank you. So and I really appreciate that, both the statement and the question. The specific kind of supportive housing that we're referring to in the 39.8 million that we're pushing for in this year's budget, it's a specific program called Justice Involved Supportive Housing. And it was developed because the way that supportive housing eligibility is structured, it tends to exclude people who have been in jail or prison for more than 90 days. Outrageously, if you were homeless before you go to jail and prison, and then you're there for more than 90 days, they don't consider you homeless after 90 days. Jail and prison is not a home. If you were homeless before, you're still homeless, but it kind of interrupts your eligibility. So this program was designed specifically for people coming home from jail and prison. Right now, 120 units exist. They're operated by 3 different organizations, the Fortune Society, Urban Pathways, and Canva. At the moment, they each have like a portion of those 120. And the city, it's been a very successful model, and they've actually just done a 10-year study of the longevity and stability of people in the housing. And the city committed in 2019 to open 380 more units, so up to 500 total. They did not designate any particular community, and it shouldn't all be in one community, but they committed to 380 more units. Those units don't exist because the funding they put in place was insufficient for any qualified provider to bid on it. And I have to say, I think that's a good thing, because people should not take a contract that they know they can't provide a quality service. So the people that are operating 120 units now, they have said, we want to expand the number of units. We know this works, but we can't do it without getting additional private funding, and we can't count on that. So they're kind of scraping it together right now with services that are mental health services, reentry services, on-site services. But they can see that it's the way that the city contract is structured right now, it's not enough. So that's why what we're asking for in this year's budget is an increase to the funding rate, so that you can have that level of service and quality that is what everyone deserves, both the people living there and the people in the community. So that's a little bit more background on the Justice Involved Supportive Housing Program that we're referring to specifically in the letter.
Thank you. So at this time, we are going to move forward with a motion to vote for a letter of support.
I make a motion for a letter of support to include the suggestions I made as well.
Thank you.
I make a motion for the letter of support to include the suggestions I made with regard to sensitivity training, separation of juveniles in the facility, and also environmental resources.
Is there a second motion?
I, Danny Barber, second that motion. Roll call also with my conditions that whatever supportive housing may come along with this project and this support, that it be outlined in writing.
Because you want to be able to include his recommendations and hers and anybody else's. You just do one general one, it will work.
I make a recommendation.
He's making a recommendation.
But you can make the recommendation in the motion.
Yes.
The motion is made, the recommendation can be made on the motion. Yes, it can.
You're making the motion?
He's making a motion, but I'm making a motion.
Okay, so, okay.
Myra made the motion, I
You seconded, but now, okay,
Yeah,
got it.
Roll call vote so that you can make your,
So Freddie wants to make a roll call vote.
yes.
Got it. Okay, let's roll call.
Is there anybody that did it for a second?
Flores Aliento,
Yes, with the recommendations by the committee.
Evelyn Alvarez, Mr. Ambrose,
Yes, with the recommendation.
Zion Baldwin, Daniel Barber,
Yes, with the recommendation.
Robert Burns,
Yes, with the recommendations.
Cecil Brooks Jr.,
Yes, with the recommendation.
Betty Bryan Brown, Stephanie Colasso, Carolyn Camoro,
Yes, with the recommendation.
Maura Coastman,
Yes, with the recommendations?
Audrey De Jesus,
Yes, with the recommendations.
Jacqueline De Jesus,
Yes, with recommendations.
Nitra Diaby, Linda Duke,
Yes, with the recommendations.
Josephine Fernandez Byrne, Ramona Ferreira,
Yes, with recommendations.
Brenda Goodwin,
Yes, with the recommendations put forth by Chairperson Danny Baldwin.
Christine Licato,
Yes, with recommendations.
Viola Martinez, Demoli Manoy, Argelia Ortiz,
Yes, with the recommendations.
Emmanuel Pardilla, Marilyn Pena,
Yes, with the recommendations.
Freddie Perez Jr.,
I vote aye with the condition that you remove from line number 5, including exploring a retractable roof on the gym. Because on number 7, you want to revise staffing plans to replace half the planned roles of the uniform officers. I would rather keep the officers with my tax dollars than putting a retractable roof in a gym, in a jail facility. Keeps everybody safe. That's my vote.
All right.
Rosa Pinheiro,
Yes, with the recommendations.
Joyce Pulvis, Gloria Lome, Jose Rodriguez, Mohammed Sheikh,
Yes, with the recommendation.
Patricia Simpson, Whitney Williams, and Cesar York.
Yes, with two conditions. One of them is for design for the community board to be part of the design process. The second condition is for them to have an employment plan for people that get out of Rikers, so get work. We have that.
Thank you. Excuse me, was I on the list for vote two, Christina Colbert? I don't think I did.
Christina,
Yes, Colbert, yes, with the recommendation. Thank you.
It's in the wording, so you gotta read it. Why can't we lose it? You're gonna spend millions of dollars doing a study. Why you spending my tax dollars like that? I think we checked the roof from the gym, for the jail. I told him.
Because the problem is that that just means have no outdoor space.
Listen, I already agree, I'm not taking it.
Madam Chair, the motion passed 21 yeas and 1 abstention. Abstention.
Thank you, Diana. Okay, letter of support passes. All right, next up, we have racial equity presentation.
All right. Thank you, folks. Thank you for being here, and also thank you for that beautiful conversation presentation. Shout out to Close Rikers. Shout out to all of y'all for being here tonight. My name is Lorenzo Van Ness. I'm the Director of Community Organizing and Engagement here at the Commission on Racial Equity. How many folks in the room have heard of the Commission on Racial Equity? Okay, I see some folks around here. Excellent. Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about us today. Should I do that? Okay, got you. Yeah, so I'm going to go through the presentation, but I'm going to skip a few slides and I'm going to, summarize a little bit because it's a lot of information, and I got 15 minutes and I'm going to stick to that. So I'm going to really go over the core overview today. Usually we do community agreements in our, in our sessions. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the 2024 community equity priorities that were created along with community members and New Yorkers. And then just what's coming up next, how to get involved, right? You can skip this one. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so our story. So CORE, the Commission on Racial Equity, really started and came from the work that the Racial Justice Commission did in 2021. They were created by former Mayor de Blasio, and essentially their mission and their goal was to root out and identify structural racism in government, right, in New York City. And then so in December of 2021, they decided to put forth 3 proposals to the ballot so New Yorkers could vote. And in November of 2022, you might have remembered the Flip the Ballot initiative that year. New Yorkers voted overwhelmingly saying that yes, they wanted to create a Commission on Racial Equity, which would be an independent body. So we're not under the mayor's office, we're not under elected officials, we report directly to the public, right? We are part of the government, but also we are responsible to the public, right? And so our mission and our goal, we have 2 pieces of our mission, and that's to hold government accountable to moving towards racial equity. And that includes creating racial equity plans and progressing towards racial equity and following a racial equity process that was put forth. And then the second part, which my department does mostly, right, is the uplifting community voices in government decision-making. So we can move to the next slide. So part of the 3 ballot initiatives that folks voted on in 2022 was established actually a preamble for New York City. So New York City's charter is kind of like the constitution for New York City, right? It talks about how the government should carry out its duties and obligations and responsibilities. And so it said that the government should justly value all talents and contributions in New York City. It said that our government should ensure the condition of thriving for every person, and that our government should embrace vigilance, remedy, and reconstruction. One of the awesome things about the preamble, if you are a fan of reading like government documents, it's a good read. It actually talks about and acknowledges the history of colonization, the history of enslavement of African descendants, and it talks about a lot of injustices that have happened here in our city and in our country, right? And it really acknowledges it. And it also acknowledges, we have a quote here that acknowledges that racial justice, racial equity, social justice, all of these movements have been going on long before any of us here in this room, right? People have been fighting and struggling and dying for racial justice and racial equity for a long time. And so we want to continue, acknowledging the folks that came before us, and also making the world or the New York City better for the folks that come after us, right? So we can move to the next slide. And so the 5 mandates, the 5 things that we are mandated to do under the law is essentially, the first thing is to identify and propose citywide community equity priorities. We did that last year, which we're going to review a little bit, the 2024 community equity priorities. Although we also have to revisit those every 2 years to make sure that we're in line with what community still wants, right? because obviously needs and priorities will change. And so we actually did that. We worked with over 40 organizations in the city. We talked to over 4,000 New Yorkers. Actually, we worked with some of the folks from Close Records, with Anthony specifically, to get, I think it was like 60 young folks to respond to and give feedback on these community equity priorities. So we had over 4,000 New Yorkers who gave us feedback, including like community organizations. And we provided a little bit of funding to organizations so that they can actually provide compensation to people who are giving feedback. Because we know that people are often asked to give feedback without anything in exchange, right? It's your time, you should be compensated for that. And then so the other pieces of our mandate are, the second part is to review and publicly comment on new racial equity plans that should be set forth by the city. So every city agency should be creating a racial equity plan. They actually did it last year. They had a draft that they put together and they still haven't released it. It was supposed to have been released over a year ago. So they're super, super late on this. They won't release the plan that they do have, but they say they're still working on it. So that's something that I definitely want folks to keep in mind. But once they release that plan, which we're trying to get them to do it, because it's the first of its kind, we're not expecting it to be perfect. It's also the draft, right? The community has to respond to it, and then they can finalize it afterwards. So they should at least release something, right? So they can work with it. And so once they release that plan, CORE and community members will be able to respond to that. And then they have to go back and finalize it. CORE will be responsible for tracking and publicly reporting on whether they're complying with what they said that they were going to do in order to increase racial equity in New York City. Then the other two pieces of our mandate are that we are able to receive complaints about city agency processes and policies that increase racial disparities in the city. So people sometimes think of this as similar to what the Commission on Human Rights does, but what they do is they actually investigate specific incidences of discrimination, right? We are specifically working on government policy and practice. So if there's, for example, a policy that HRA has, right, that is causing racial disparities, you can complain to us about it and we can work with you or with the organization and with the agency to try to address that, right? Then the last piece of our mandate, of course, is to respond to the requests of the Speaker of the City Council on racial equity issues. So generally we take that not only as responding to City Council, but also doing our work in as transparent a way as possible, right? All right, well, let's move on to the community equity priority. So they actually come in 3 sets related to the 3 values that I mentioned earlier. So the first set is related to justly valuing all talents and contributions. The first priority is essentially talking about the gaps in race, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, disability in city jobs, right? The people who work for the government, right? We want to make sure, community has stated time and time again, not only that the government workers should look like us and represent communities that we're a part of, right? The New Yorkers are a part of, but also that they should be committed to racial equity, right? Number 2, we talk about making sure that communities harmed by racism and social injustice are involved in shaping government plans, similar to what Ms. Goodwin was saying earlier, right? We should be in the beginning, in the middle, and the end of plans, we should be involved, right? Community members. Number 3, we have is related to pay equity, because we see that people get paid differently for the same work, right? And that's one of the most visible ways of inequity that we see. So we want to make sure that people are paid for the labor they do in an equitable way. Number 4, we have it's about language access. Community members have stated that they still see that they're not able to get interpreters or translation in different parts of the city government, right, when they're trying to get services. Number 6 is about checking and removing any kind of formulas, computer-based processes, or AI or automated systems that make decisions for us, right? We see that happens in housing and employment and criminal justice, and we want to evaluate those systems for racial equity. And then number 6, we want to disaggregate data. So we want to have the data about who the city serves, but in smaller groups, so that they're not just grouping together, for example, all Asian folks, right, or all Latino folks. We want to see which communities are you actually serving, right? We can move to the second set. So number 7 is about specifically providing housing for all folks who are at risk of homelessness, deed theft, or eviction. Number 8, we have evaluate and remove fines, which we already saw the library remove their fines, and that's expanded access for a lot of people. Number 9 is expanding and using non-punitive responses to mental health concerns or impacts, crises. Then number 10, we have reducing the gap in education, right? We want to make sure that schools are equitably funded and that we see less segregation in our schools, which has been increasing over time. Okay, gotcha. And then we have number 11 about increasing access to health, mental health, other kinds of services. Number 12, removing the costs and barriers to CUNY enrollment and retention. We saw that CUNY was actually free before. How many people knew that? Yeah, it used to be free. It was free until the 60s. Well, until the 70s, actually. Yeah, the 70s, my bad. It was desegregated in, I think it was 1969. And then in the early 70s, they started instituting a tuition. It's not a coincidence, right? It was another barrier to put for folks. Then number 13, we have just, lowering the cost to basic things that the costs are too high, right, to live in New York City. So let's go to the last set. Number 14 is about making sure that in emergency planning that communities are involved in making those plans and carrying them out. Number 15, removing barriers to folks owning and keeping property, right? We see that as an issue. Number 16 is making sure that we hold all city workers accountable, and that counts, that includes NYPD, ACS, HRA, all city workers should be accountable to the people they serve. Number 17 is about making sure people have access to employment and starting businesses. Number 18 is about, is actually an ode to close rikers and other movements about preventing and intervening and providing care to people who are harmed by policing, jails, and court supervision. So that's where I'll leave it now. I just wanted to mention that if you want to reach out to us, we can do more extended presentations if you're part of an organization, a church, a faith-based organization, any kind of organization. We'd love to come out and talk to folks and really have a discussion with folks. Yeah, thank you so much. If you have any questions, I can stick around. And I can put some of these flyers in the back over there if you want a copy of the priorities. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay.
I'm not sure you could do something about this, but has to do with employment forms. Basically, I really don't like the race part of employment forms, and also like they bundle Hispanic and Latinos. Our histories are different, so they should be separated because Latinos are not Hispanic and Hispanics are not Latinos. Well, they tend to bundle it, but I just don't like that race section of employment forms.
So it depends on what kind of forms and stuff, because again, our jurisdiction or our mandate is about government systems, and so maybe for like city jobs, we can advocate for that to be, again, disaggregated, like I think it was number 6, instead of just saying all Latinos, like, what do you actually mean, right? Do you mean like, what ethnic origin, right? What countries are folks from, rather than grouping everyone together in a way that erases our identities. But yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you, that concludes the presentation. Next up, we have voting items. I'm gonna pass it over to Audrey De Jesus.
Oh, you have to, okay.
So the first one is for renewal application for the Lit Bar, which is the bar that has a bookstore inside of it. They've been currently, I'm ready. Okay, a motion to accept the committee's recommendations to approve the renewal license for the Lit Bar.
I make a motion to accept the release approval for the lit bar. Second, by Brenda Goodwin.
Okay,
No, go ahead.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any extensions? Any nays?
Discussion.
Discussion on the motion? It's approved. Oh, that's right. Okay, the second one is for the I-9 outdoor dining on Bruckner Boulevard, 53 Bruckner Boulevard. They want to put an application review. Oh, okay. Motion to accept the committee's recommendation to approve outdoor dining license for International Bistro.
I make a motion to approve the outdoor dining for 9 Eastern. I second it. Can we have discussion?
Discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I got one.
So my concern with this is not like the business having their activities indoor. I think this outdoor space, especially for folks like myself with ambulatory issues, actually creates a lot of issues because the space directly in front of it has those flower pots, has seating, and it's right next to that laundromat that people have to like wait outside because that space is so small. And based on how the rest of the businesses are doing on that block, I don't know that they provide justification for needing so much additional space and taking up such a large percentage of the sidewalk. So I don't know if they talked to you guys about that, because we have places closing, but they're trying to add additional seating.
Okay. I could answer that.
I'm part of them.
Yes.
Thank you. So under the rules, under the New York City Department of Transportation rules that allows this program to take place, the business can only occupy outside dining directly in front of their property. So their outside dining, whether it's curbside or sidewalk side, can only occupy, like if you see in the picture, the duration part of the business. And there was a very extensive conversation done by this committee to talk directly about whether or not this business was selling alcohol outside, whether or not this business had any complaints in the past, what are some of the beautification elements that was taken in as part of this, and they were able to satisfy the concerns of this business. In addition to, they are the actual owner of the laundromat that's directly next door. But the outside dining part only reflects the restaurant part of the business. And this program was created under the Blount administration due to what was happening with the COVID situation. And so there was an extension made to this program with some very strict rules that was followed in the application that satisfied the Department of Transportation and the committee's concerns. I don't know, did I answer your questions?
No, I think
No,
she
because
just
the
had a
structure
statement.
itself takes up so much space, right? Like, they wanted to just have seating outside.
I do
That's
think
one thing, but
the structure as is will change.
I think that matters.
Right, the
Like, are they
structure
gonna
as
move
is
it? Are
will
they gonna make it
change.
smaller?
I would also say, I live on this block, and they're one of the businesses that contribute the most genuinely to the community.
So Anthony, all of that you're saying, what the district manager said, that host view was nice. I thank the chairwoman for her input, but I agree with my colleague.
Yeah, the space is absolutely, if you look at it now.
But this is what they're asking for, a little support on what we see.
No, we're just showing this picture.
It's on the application, but okay, you guys are showing the picture, so it's being visualized.
Right,
As this is, and you're asking us to support something.
but checking the, check
And I looked at the presentation,
Yeah.
and the presentation, it doesn't look any smaller. It's not gonna improve.
And I've been there and whatnot, so my thing is who's to say that, and I've walked out of there with a drink in my
I
hand.
think we can have them come,
With new plans that are.
I think we can have them come back and discuss that further, actually.
But their plans are within the city guidelines.
Right, they're within the city guidelines, so that's really beyond us,
It has
but.
nothing to do with that stuff in front of them. They didn't put that there. That was me, I was there.
But I think as a community board, right, we have to be concerned for what's already existing and how it works with the city guidelines. And if the city guidelines doesn't take into consideration the planters, the seats, and the trash.
And that's the,
We should.
It does take into consideration.
I would also say the planters and the benches were
And the
put,
trash cans that always have to stay out now according to those guidelines too. Those are not in the picture, but there's a row of trash containers that they have chained up outside as well.
but you've seen that in front of Ina?
Yeah, bro.
I seen that on the Brooklyn, on the Brooklyn side. What I will say is that also, the benches and the planters have been put there by the city.
Yeah.
So that we
Construction.
could also talk about how that,
We
because
should get.
the bench is good because people from the laundromat also utilize them.
Mhm.
But I think what happens is that structure that's outside will then not be there, and yeah, it is.
I had.
But I think, but I'm happy to have them come back, but I do wanna.
Oh, I guess Danny wasn't done.
I wasn't done and everybody started talking.
Jumping in. Go for it, Danny.
No, you're not gonna cut me off.
No, go for
You're
it.
putting forth a good fight, but you asking us to vote to support something and whatnot. Take new pictures, bring new pictures back. Show us how it's gonna look when it's finalized.
Was there
We're not
anything?
saying.
I finished.
No, I think I wanted to give a chance for Ambrose, who was the committee chair, to make a statement of, because this was the committee's recommendation.
Yes, I really think that they went through an intensive questioning and we went through, they are meeting the guideline. And we really didn't see any, as a matter of fact, it removed some of the obstruction that was supposed to be where the car is parked. I think it was supposed to have, they could have had a outdoor dam in that area. It did remove it. So I think that from our committee, we went through intensive questioning and we didn't find anything. Where everything he did there was within the guideline of the city. So we didn't want to make anything new.
Cecil? Go ahead, Cecil. He's not, he'll go after you.
Sorry, I missed a few of the comments, but I actually had a chance to speak with Eche recently. Just like wanted to give a little context because I think it's important. Something that I learned here, with the board, just looking at where we fit in with other parts of the city. And it's crazy that for all of the restaurants, this is voluntary. So to go through the process, you really have to want it. You really have to want the option to serve people outside or make use of the nice weather. And working with the city now with restaurants citywide, like 6% of all of the restaurants that have applied, and like 2% of the restaurants that have been approved are in the Bronx. And again, this is for restaurants who want the option. So it's still going on, and it's very important because April 1st is the deadline. So any tips, any complaints, recommendations that we have, that restaurants and bars, they have to take it into consideration. Especially since the Bronx is already not looking that good. And there are things we have to take into consideration with like the traffic, the residents, the noise, and all of that. But at least to have the chance to apply. A lot of businesses they're having their choices taken away from them because the city isn't honestly doing, what they're supposed to do, So I just wanted, for us to keep that in mind because there are only a few businesses that are choosing to go through this process, and anything that we would like to fix in that process, I've been going to hundreds of businesses throughout the city over the last couple of months. It's like pulling teeth to get people to tell you oh, what do I want or what do residents want? I don't know all the people who live in my neighborhood. So hopefully, these concerns, they could get addressed, and hopefully we can have more people who want to at least apply, or so that the city knows that we deserve to have places to eat, places to have these kinds of applications in the Bronx.
We're short on time. I want to wrap up. All right. So I'm gonna So, we're short on time, so I'm gonna close there with the discussion on the motion, and then continue. What I will say is that we, as a community board, should get in the habit of, when these things come to our board, also saying like, well, we can continue to have this conversation, right? These business owners are part of the community. And so one of the things that I think that we have to get comfortable with is, while, yes, Eche has come before the committee and he's requested this and we know there's a deadline, but this is not the end all be all, right? So if there's a letter of support, then you have to come back and we have to have a conversation, right? And in full transparency, while we talk about this, it's similar to the GDLU process, right? We stopped that, we know the committee made that recommendation, but we stopped that because we wanna have further conversations, right? And so while that letter of support is probably gonna happen, we're still gonna have a conversation of accountability and about services. And I think that's what we need to do. While we're making this motion and we're having those discussions, we do wanna take into consideration what Danny Barber is saying, what Ramona is saying, and make sure that we do follow up with the business owners, because I think, that is what we need to begin to do, right? Have our relationships with the community stakeholders, and those community stakeholders are also the business owners. And so, I think Island Bistro, they're pretty good neighbors in the community, and so they, I'm sure, are willing to come and have that discussion, even if it's just a small group of us that have those concerns, but I'm sure we can get them back to have that discussion. The deadline is April 1st, so I do want to continue going forward with this motion, but I do want to hold them to come back between now and April 1st.
Sure.
I mean, which is next week, or at least have a virtual meeting and discussion with the members that have concerns.
But also remember, they had it out on the street before.
And they reduced it, they changed it to, I mean,
First.
So we're,
Call the question, please.
any abstentions, so now, can we get a motion?
I made the motion.
You make the motion and a second.
second motion.
Who seconded it? Ambrose. All in favor? We discussed it, any abstentions?
I abstain.
3, 4.
You're gonna have
How many abstentions? We have Maura, Danny, Ramona, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. But on the record, can we get this meeting with Danny, Ramona, and anybody else who wants to join?
Madam Chair, you don't need to make a special meeting.
No, but we should, and those are I think those are the things that we need to get, right? Because we can't have our concerns just here and not with the actual stakeholders, right? So you have these concerns, let's have real conversations with people who we have the concerns with. I think we need to get into that.
My concern is more, we have to be more mindful, because for years, everything just comes to the board and gets approved, it goes up, and then nobody really sees it. A lot of the decisions that are made, when you live in the heart of the community where these decisions are made, it really affects us.
Absolutely. I live right on this spot.
Especially my residents in public housing. They get cracked on the worst
No, I totally
and
agree.
whatnot. So it's like, yeah, I think the community board should be held to higher precedence and whatnot, because we can't just keep passing everything. Because once they get the support, when you go there, you're not treated like they need support.
Can I,
Really, one thing that I think we should also be mindful is, let's don't just be saying no just for the fun of it. We live in this community. We have a business that is working with us in a community. Now, I'm a little concerned right now. Why do we want to call the meeting to address the issue nobody wants to show up? So are we just complaining just for the fun of complaining? No. We can call the meeting, and I think that gentleman was very cooperative with us. We sat with him. He was able to bend over to satisfy the need of the community.
And it went before your committee.
Right. So, and we literally have a 2-hour meeting with them. So I think that if there is a concern, we really take that seriously. Let's call for another meeting, and sit down with that gentleman, have a conversation. If we're gonna call for a meeting, now nobody wants to show up. Now, are we complaining just for fun of it? Bronx CB1 has been known to be a CB1 that's always said no for
everything. We live here, the gentleman do business here, he's working with us. If you guys want, I'll call that meeting again, we sit and have a conversation. And whatever, and as a matter of fact, let's keep in mind, he had another one on the square, the black car is. He chose to remove it because he said to us that he saw that I was creating problem with the traffic. So that he voluntarily doing it. And the city has given him a permit to have that. So let's kind of be understanding and work with the business in our community so we can move ahead. Thank you. So if, Mr.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambrose. I'm gonna move forward, and then we're gonna move forward, because we don't have too much time. Thank you. If we have anything further on that, prior to the meeting that we're gonna have, make sure you just email the DM. All right, we're moving forward on the agenda. If I could just find my agenda. All right, DM's report, thank you. Anthony?
Thank you, Chair. I'll be very brief, given the fact of time, and yes, that is me. That's another part of my life. Praise God, everybody, praise God. This is what happens when you do public service for a while, it gets a little bit more. So this is what you guys have to look forward to, right? So, I wanna, say thank you to all of you, because as you all know, this is an update about, I'm gonna be very brief about the office. Of course, some of you know that we lost our office space because of a bad flood. But thanks to the leadership of the executive committee and our chair, we were able to, and the staff, Stephen, and our new team member, Diana, we were able to continue our community board operations at 3030 3rd Avenue on the 2nd floor. Thank you to our colleagues in the Department of Finance. Also, thank you to our colleagues at Lincoln Hospital who have been hosting us for most of our committee and general board meetings, because without these special relationships, it would have been very difficult to continue the operations. I thank each of you for your leadership and being able to lug back and forth between different spaces to be able to meet with us. So for those who've been having some issues reaching us, just want to let you know that the phone calls that you make to the 585 number, which is the community board office, has been directed to our staff's cell phones. So there's not anyone who has had problems reaching out to the board office, to let you know that it's not intentional, or we are not trying to not be responsive. It is because we only have a couple of cell phones and there are so many calls that come in. And so feel free though to continue to either call us or email us. And we work very hard to respond to everyone's inquiries. And we have had a lot of folks who have been satisfied, but I understand that we can do better, and we're building on that, doing better part. I want to talk about one thing in particular. If you have not gotten the email about the Yankee Scholarship, Diana Leonard from our team has been reaching out to each of our board members, asking whether or not you have young people who want to have access to getting a $750 scholarship free of charge and be recognized on the field at Yankee Stadium. That is a very important project. Unfortunately, we have not got many responses from, and that concerns us, but we're moving forward to take the young people that we do, who did submit to the community board, and we'll have a recommendation for the executive committee in the coming days, because we have to get back to Yankee Stadium pretty quickly. But I just ask that in this interim, when you do receive emails, I know they are a lot sometimes about meetings and everything else that come from the board staff or from anybody in reference to it, we don't want anyone to miss the opportunity to take on those issues. Again, our office hours are from Monday to Friday, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we are sometimes in transit coming here for our committee meetings, but we are very happy here to serve you. It's my pleasure and my team's pleasure to continue to serve this board. I'm happy to answer any questions, Chair.
Thank you, Anthony. I also just want to add that the Yankee tickets are open to everyone. So if you have an 11th grader or 12th grader and you want to recommend them, I think there's an application process. They have to submit an essay, but get that over to us, talk to Anthony or Diana or Stephen, and make that recommendation so we can move forward with that. So it's open, anyone can submit, not just board members. So we know any scholars in the neighborhood. All right, moving forward, we have public safety report.
Best for last.
I know it says 7 minutes, but we'll probably try to. Don't read the stats that are online.
Hi, my name is Sergeant Rivera from the 48th Precinct. I'm here representing my commanding officer, Deputy Inspector Callahan. I'm also joined with the Captain Nadeem from Precinct 7. I'm going to do a quick rundown on the numbers, some notable incidents in the 40th in the past month, and then a new program comes to the precinct very soon. Numbers of the month, we've been trending down in crime, burglaries, rapes, robberies, grand larceny, they've all had a downward spike. Same thing for year to date, so from the beginning of the year to this, everything seems to be trending down. So notable incidents. There was a homicide at the beginning of the month. That case was tended to be like a roommate dispute. Someone was arrested almost immediately after that incident happened. About 2 weeks ago, there was a shooting on 148 in Brook. Made the news. It appears that an unintended person was hit, critically injured. Within 2 days of that incident, someone was arrested, just leaving one person unapprehended. We know who he is. We're actively looking for him. And then there was a shooting, 156 in Jackson this past Monday. That job was handled great. When the shooting happened, there was 2 cops who were on scene, who had just effected an arrest for a totally different crime, heard the gunshots, went outside, saw the person who matched the description of the person doing the gunshots, stopped them. They found the gun and everything, the arrest was made within 20 minutes of that shooting happening. No incidents. The 40th precinct has been selected to be a pilot program for something called the Q Team, initiative by our commissioner to try and tackle quality of life issues. So we're trying to merge certain teams, NCOs, YCOs are youth coordination officers, with traffic officers, and members of my team to tackle quality of life. Our main goal is going to be 3-on-1 related issues. So 3-on-1 is your best friend if you want to do a quality of life issue. It could be people gambling, people drinking, loud noise, traffic conditions, derelict vehicles, whatever the case may be. The idea, at least in theory, we take cops who are more experienced in these zones, for example, neighborhood issues, youth issues, and traffic issues, put them on one team and solve the 3-on-1 issue as opposed to just put a Band-Aid on it and move forward from that. And with that, I'll pass it to the captain. Any questions you have, I just ask that you just wait until you finish speaking, okay?
Good evening, all. God bless you. I'm Captain Dillo. I represent PSA 7. I'm the executive officer. I'm here for the Spectre quote. Just gonna run off some numbers. I'm not gonna take too much of your time. Like the sergeant said, we're trending down. I think it's mostly down. Notably, robberies, 7 versus 16, which is a 56%, which is pretty good. Felonies, 16 versus 36, another 56%. So that's always a good thing. The index crime overall, we're 43% down. It's a 49 versus 86, and that's all in housing. So the numbers might change between the precinct and us. But this is just concerning the housing development. And like the sergeant said, that there's a program coming where they're trying to merge all the units together to tackle the quality of life concern that everyone has. That's basically what I have.
Any questions?
When is the precinct council meeting?
So the precinct council meeting is the first Wednesday of every month, normally around 6 o'clock, 6:30.
Where is it gonna be this month?
Last month, it was at a school on Jackson, the exact, correct, I believe that was the location until it comes to the precinct. Oh, it's gonna be right here.
It's gonna be here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Ramona. Oh, Gloria.
I mean that. So my office has gotten a lot of 311 complaints because they get closed. So they open it, 5 minutes later, they close it. Yeah. And it happens all the time. They send me screenshots, they send me emails, they bring me phone calls, and they close them right away without being addressed. I mean, how are we doing that we're gonna be ensured that these things are gonna be issues with the summer coming? Because next to where I live, there's a hookah bar outside of a barber shop with loud music where my windows is. So how we know coming the summer, these 311 complaints are gonna be addressed?
So I think that goes in hand with the new program. I mean, the program's supposed to start sometime in April, but they're working out all the kinks what's gonna happen. But that's kind of good. I'm gonna be involved in the program, I'm gonna be starting the program. So when you see me next month and you say, hey, I made 7301s, like, what are you doing about it? I have a different answer for you. We're gonna be dealing with 301s. It's not gonna just be two random officers, so I give them time, I give them tour. They have to close it up because there's 17 other pending 301s they have to answer to. Like I said, the idea, the concept is to try and put an end to whatever the public issue is, develop a plan and tackle that.
I have a question regarding the increased presence at Mitchell houses. I know we've talked in the past about preventive measures, but it's starting to feel like it's just like, it's a lot, the presence, and it's weird because no one looks at you or says good morning, so I'm like, why are we having such a large presence, and then what's like the thinking behind it?
Well,
Is that the community policing that you guys promised us?
Well, the reason for the increase in officers, because we do have gang violence in the area with other developments. We're trying to prevent a homicide to occur at shootings. So the presence, day and night, is the reason why we're trending now in all our robberies, our mixed crimes, and our shooting. If we were to take it away, there's a good likelihood that we're going to see shootings in the area. And we're trending down. We just want to keep it that way moving into the summer.
So I think the presence is helpful, and we have been asking for that for a while. But I think the next step of community policing is to have more engagement. A lot of the officers are still on their phone, are still locked up in the car. And I purposefully will walk by the car and be like, hi, good morning, how are you? And it's like an alien arrives. So if you could just like communicate to them that becoming part of the community also contributes to lowering the statistics.
So just so you can know, most police officers are coming from all over. They're not necessarily from the precinct.
So you guys got increased.
Right, so we're getting resources from all over the city to help us with this violence. So every day you're getting a new cop. So what we will do, we will just have our supervisors enforce these little minor things that I talked about, them on the phone, or whether they be inside.
And then the other issue is regarding the newer tenants in our community that are living at the waterfront. The amount of illegal parking is something that I've raised to the board for months. I've submitted multiple tickets. I know that you guys aren't acting on these yet, or the pilot hasn't started, but either we have to have a conversation about changing the parking laws or enforcement has to start increasing, because people are literally parking on ramps and taking up the entire sidewalk. And I'm talking about the junction of 3rd Avenue, where the Confut is on the corner, the old Mott Barn Grill. So that intersection under the 3rd Avenue Bridge at the end of 3rd Avenue. People drive there in like the wrong direction, they park wherever they want.
Is this
and it's complete chaos, huh?
Throughout the day?
It's, 24 hours. Like I walk there like daily, and I have pictures and tickets that I've submitted, and like it's not being resolved.
Yeah, so, just quick thing, the program hasn't started yet, we're not tackling the issue. For example, in February, we did a whole tour and operation sanitation, we moved 30 vehicles, from underneath the overpass. There is a big parking problem over there, there's DOT signs there, so you can't park, people just park the cars all the time. It is being enforced, maybe you may not see it, but people, my cops go up there, not every day, but every other day, they write summonses, they parking summonses. We've been in contact with sanitation, they've come out, we've been in contact with our own, traffic division that comes out with tow trucks to get sure some of the car gets taken. Actually, we did that in February. When it comes to working with multi-agencies, we're all for it. It's just sometimes it takes a little bit of time to set a date and time and coordinate between sanitation, us, traffic. Hey, does this day work for you? Maybe not for me, but for you it does. And we gotta find time and place. And we'll come out and usually in the overnight, it just could take. Last time it took approximately 30 cars.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's always normal with that.
And I would suggest so that you engage the landlord down there.
We actively open conversation.
Okay.
I also want to echo what Ramona has said. And there's been moments where I've seen like a car parked on the sidewalk under the bridge on 135th, and I've seen PD just ride by. And so like, I would hope that like, and I've seen numerous times where like vehicles have been double parked and traffic has been, really complicated on the block, and PD would ride by. So like, what is the, yeah, what do they do? Can they stop? Can they ticket the car?
Yeah, you just, like, publicly, you just give a ticket to the.
So maybe just sending that back to the force and say, hey, be more than.
Just real quick on that, again, 40th is one of the busiest pieces in the Bronx. Your best friend is doing one. Best friend is doing one.
311, we got
beat.
beat. We ain't best friends.
Just real quick. Again, so there's, enforcement gets done on a daily basis. Again, sometimes you don't see it, but enforcement does get done. 311 is your best friend. That 311, if that car's still there when the cops show up, they will give you the summons. And again, if you see a car, hey, this car is here, can you give it something, obviously we'll give it something.
Yeah, I think when you say 311 is your friend, I disagree, right? Because I call 311 all the time, and there's some times where the ticket gets closed the next morning for double parked cars. And I get it, you know, there's busy stuff, crime is going down, but, I think there has to be a balance on what is happening, because, the response for 311 is not what you're saying, like, I'm sorry, y'all. The response for 311 is not what you're saying, like 311 is your best friend, because the response is not accurate. Like, you guys will get that, and then the ticket gets closed, and so we've got to do like better with 311.
That's what the fight program is for.
But it doesn't start till April, so between now and April.
I agree with you, Clarissa. 100%, because I do call 311 all the time. We had the legislators come in here and say that the South Bronx District does not report to 311, but I would submit a complaint, 3 hours later, it's closed, and the people are still doing the same thing. Now, the issue that I have, especially with traffic, people are like double and triple parking now, not only on the street, but on the sidewalk. They're blocking fire hydrants, they're blocking mobility areas of the sidewalk. That's a really big issue. My issue today was driving in here, there's a kid on a scooter going down the wrong way of traffic while I was turning. There's a moped when I'm walking, just the other day I'm walking, a moped's driving right on the sidewalk, almost hit me. What are we doing about these people who are in clear violation of transportation laws? I know that the PD doesn't handle that, I believe it's DOT, but we really need to do something about it because it's hindering our safety. It's hindering emergency vehicles from moving around. It's hindering our own ambulances right here in the hospital. So something really has to be done. I really disagree with the traffic pattern from the previous administration. Coming down here, the fire truck that's on 51 over by the street, 151st Street, coming down, the traffic was stopped. I mean, it took that fire truck to get out of that particular street because people are double parked, both on the avenue and on the side street, to get out. I mean, if I'm in a fire, I'm gonna die.
Yeah. Thank you, Mara. I also want to echo, because traffic is terrible. We know traffic, but sometimes it's just the double parked cars. If we got double parked cars out the way, on Brooklyn, on Alexander, even at Mitchell houses, we have a car stationed there. And I've seen cars run red lights right by the offices. And so those are the things that, like, for me, having presence in a community and no active, like, you're in a car and that's it, doesn't deter. It might deter, I don't know what it deters, but I've seen cars like drive and run red lights. So I think we just have to be more vigilant on traffic, things like that.
Okay, you're ready. I have two issues. The first issue is with the traffic on 143rd Street and Morris Avenue. They have the trucks, the cars, the crossway. You have to go in the middle of the street to cross the street. You can't see the street light because the big trucks are covering the street lights when they're waiting for the light to change. And instead of standing on the side, they just go past the light and they're at another light which blocks the crossway. And the other cars are coming and they're like double parked waiting for the light to change. So pedestrians can't cross the streets until the light change again, and then you have to sit there and throw your hands up and tell them, please let us cross. My second issue is with the development, okay? I'm the TA president for Patterson Houses. We do tenant patrol because when we call the police officers to come out, when people are in the hallways at night, the kids are in the hallway smoking weed, playing loud music, making a lot of noise. Some buildings, they're banging on the doors. And there's nobody coming out to do verticals. I call, ask for verticals to be done. You see the police officers in front of their vans, you have some that stand in front of their vans and they won't come in the building. I asked them, can you come in the building and do verticals? They said, no, we can't because we're from different precincts. We're not from the precincts around here. So we need police officers that can come in and do verticals in the building and keep these kids out of the building. People are scared to come out the building. You have people that want to go to work at night and they're afraid to come out the building because the kids harass them. We sit there in my building and we do tenant patrol. And we have to, sometimes we have to use sticks and other things to chase them out the building. We're policing ourselves.
No, that's right.
And we can get hurt doing that, so we need Joel's help.
Thank you, Ms. Pat. Ms. Duke, last question.
You know what I gotta say? We have a whole lot of police. And the other day, when I was coming out my building, it was an officer. And I'm looking at him, and he was from, what, 5? We in 7, he's from 5. And I told the officer, you're a long way from home. Okay? So you're taking officers from Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, and you're putting them in developments that they don't know, because the ones that was there don't know. But for the city officers, it's not PA 7, they from all over the city. And he was from PA 5, him and 2 other officers. And I see this happen all the time. You can't get to know somebody if you're not really assigned to that particular area. You know, you're probably there this week, or might be there for 2 or 3 days. And after that, it's somebody else. It's not that, you know, you're not trying, but I was just a little, you know, PH5.
Thank you, Ms. Duke.
I would just suggest to the I guess.
Ms. Pat.
Association. I have Sergeant Odomo, he's our NCO sergeant, he deals with all the, you know, the officers, the FTU. And you can always reach out to him, he'll support you, he'll help you guys out.
Thank you. I think that's, yeah. Thank you. All right, we're gonna go into elected officials report. Anybody from the mayor's office? No elected officials? Borough president? Richie Torres' office?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Courtney O'Bain. I'm the community liaison to Congressmember Richie Torres. I just have a quick announcement for today, some legislative updates. So Congressmember Torres announced today that he'll be reintroducing the bill, the Bodega Act, which will open up federal funds for bodegas to install security systems like panic buttons and ensure faster response times from the NYPD. Bodegas are the heart and soul of the Bronx, and we must protect them from violent crimes. On March 8th, Congressmember Torres reintroduced legislation to improve the federal response to health emergencies in the light of recent measles and bird flu outbreaks. And finally, Congressmember Torres is additionally advocating for the restoration of Medicare telehealth benefits, which help so many senior citizens and their caregivers. Medicare recipients who use virtual or telephone options for doctor's visits will lose that benefit on April 1st. If you have a personal story on the impact of Medicare and Medicaid you would like to share with us, please call our office. If you have any questions, our office is located on 540 East Fordham Road, and I'll hang around for a few minutes for any questions.
Ramona.
I want to follow up on the questions we had regarding the service of the post office.
Yes, I believe that I had responded back to the board and let them know that I needed a privacy release form filled out directly by the person making the complaint. So I had filled one out from the office on like the behalf of the board, like from Richie Torres, and USPS did not accept it, and so I reached back out and said that we'd be more than happy to help, but we need you all to fill out the privacy release form or call our office. You can come in person, we can assist you with it, but it's pretty simple, 5-minute digital form that can be filled out.
Okay, did you send it to Anthony?
No, I believe that.
Can that get sent out to the entire board?
Yeah, we'll send it, I'll make sure it goes out to the time board.
I can send the link for it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Anyone from Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez's office? Jose Serrano?
Good evening, everyone. I just want to give you an update of the last legislation. So regarding the environment, Senator Serrano supports an increased funding for environmental conservation, portion of the proposed $100 million increase in the Environmental Protection Fund. And then for the passage of the New York Heat Act, which would prohibit utilities from passing costs to ratepayers, lower utility bills and decrease pollution. And then regarding the MTA, congestion pricing is still happening, and the legislature is looking for other ways to fund the MTA and make it safer for riders. And then from education, there will be an increase in foundational aid, which is an increase in overall funding for public schools. And then,
What was that one?
so now there's a budget, and we are trying to increase in foundational aid, which is an increase in overall funding for public schools. That's what we're trying to fund more. And we are afraid that the budget will not be passed on April the 1st, but as soon as possible. And then there's another thing that would be interesting for you. Serrano has S 1468 relates to the provision of patient health information and medical records. This bill aims to streamline laws regarding consumers' access to the health and medical records while improving the transfer of such records among healthcare professionals to ensure smoother record transfers. This would also include mental health care professionals. The bill emphasizes the importance of consistent legal frameworks to enhance continuity of care as technology evolves. And then finally, we will hold constituent hours at the Kansas Senior Center or Older Adult Center at 401 St. Anne's Avenue on April the 15th, Tuesday, April the 15th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And if you have any questions, concerns, you can always reach out to us at 212-828-5829. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Anyone from Luis Sepulveda's office? Chantel Jackson? Amanda Sepulveda?
Hi, everyone. I'm Whitney Rimab here from Assemblymember Amanda Septimo's office. We don't have any updates. I've left some materials in the back with our office information. So please take a look, reach out to our district office if you have any needs or concerns. Thank you.
Can I say something to you? Am I allowed to?
Yeah.
Is it possible you could have her come here in person? Because since I've been on this board, I haven't seen her here present, physical form.
That's very hard to do during session, but.
Yeah, you're doing a great job, but, you know, I wanna see her.
No, I mean, like, that's very hard for her during the legislative session, but
What's the form on Sunday morning?
yeah.
Just relay that message.
Sure.
Thank you.
Anyone from Brad Langer's office?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Griff Mayhew. I'm the Bronx Borough Director of the Office of the New York City Controller. I have a couple of updates for you all. The first is that we released the Cure for Crisis, the Power and Potential of Community Violence Intervention report. In that report, we found that programs such as Guns Down, Life Up, and other community violence intervention programs reduced gun violence by 21% where it was deployed, leading to over 1,500 fewer shootings citywide between 2012 and 2024. While the report highlights the success of community-based programs, it also uncovered major deficiencies that hinder efforts to improve public safety and prevent gun violence, such as a lack of coordination, insufficient tracking of data and outcomes, delays by the mayoral administration in processing payments, and insufficient technical assistance and support for these providers. If you're interested in reading our report, it's on our website at controller.nyc.gov. And also on April 6th, we're having Bronx Community Partner Day with the New York Botanical Gardens. It's basically to honor Mexican modernism in one of their orchid exhibitions. If you're interested in free tickets, let me know. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone from Giovanni Williams' office? Rafael Salamanca's office? And then after that, it's gonna be Diana Ayala and Darcel Clark, so you guys could try to.
First, faster transition. Maybe we'll do that next time. Everybody line up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maricel Valdez-Wiggins. I'm the community liaison for Councilmember Salamanca Jr. The council members currently working on drafting 2 pieces of legislation that will increase transparency surrounding e-bike scooter corridor zones that will require New York City Department of Transportation to seek input from and notify community boards and local elected officials within 60 days of placing designated corridor zones on city streets, as well as legislation that will streamline emergency response efforts within city properties, that would establish the creation of a digitized, uniform emergency grid mapping system for New York City properties, including but not limited to New York City schools, hospitals, parks, and government buildings, with a uniform grid mapping system. First responders would utilize the same mapping system that takes into account site-specific features and geo-oriented navigation to streamline emergency response efforts and expedite response times. Next Tuesday, the council members will be doing a check presentation at the Host Point Rec Center next Tuesday, April 1st at 12 noon. Anyone, the community is invited. Is for Caraballo passable court upgrades and repavement, as well as playground renovation upgrades, and to upgrade the indoor track at the Host Point Rec Center. If you have any questions or concerns, I'll be in the back. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Tick, tick, tick. Good evening, my name is Gloria Cruz. I work with Deputy Speaker Diana Ayala. So the big news that we have going on is participatory budgeting. After 91 amazing ideas, budget delegates from East Harlem and South Bronx have selected 12 proposals that the participatory budgeting ballot. Only 12 projects made it. These will bring much needed capital needs improvements to schools across District Council 8. Each borough, East Harlem and the South Bronx will receive $1 million each in funding. The project with the most votes will be funded first. If it costs less than $1 million, then the next project in line gets funded until the full amount is spent. Did you know that kids as young as 11 years old can vote? Stay tuned for our video series in each school and proposal. And in your flyers, next week is voting week. So our offices in East Harlem and the Bronx will be open from 9 to 5. So you can come in and vote for the project that you choose. There's a QR code. Those of you that don't know how to QR code like me, you can just go to the website and they will tell you which projects like PS30 and the schools that were on the ballot. but we will be open from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, from March 31st to April 9th, the voting process. So you can bring your kids, your neighbors, you can let the word spread out. As young as 11 years old can vote, and as old as 1,000. Thank you. And everything that we have is on our flyer, free tax prep Mondays and Tuesdays. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Gloria.
Good night, Gracie.
All right, we have the DA's office.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jumana Escalera. I work for the Bronx District Attorney's Office, Community Engagement to be exact. We have a few events coming up. We have a child safety fair, really fun event. We usually do educational activities for the kids. We provide free bikes. We have a photo booth. We do like bracelet making. Pretty much it's a big event where we bring out different agencies to educate the community on different things, bike safety, sleep safety for newborns. This is going to be on April 19th, Saturday, April 19th at PS 106 in Park Chester. And it's going to be from, let me just double check the time, I'm sorry. It's going to be from 11 to 3. And then we also have a prom dress and suit drive going on at this moment. It is almost spring, so I know you guys are probably like cleaning out your closets. We're accepting suits, dresses, shoes, accessories, bags, pretty much anything that would be of use for prom season. And you can drop those items off at 198 East 161st Street, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And then lastly, we've been trying to push our workshops in the community to educate youth on their rights as well as the process of an arrest. So if you guys are interested in that, please let us know. Our email is C as in cat, E as in elephant, U as in umbrella at Bronx. Bronx is spelled out, BA.nyc.gov. Once again, the workshops are really good. We do them for community boards, schools, any group, more than 2 people. Just send us an email if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our elected officials report. I'm gonna move, committee reports are all in your folders. Anyone in the public who is interested, our committees are always aired. We have YouTube live, so every meeting that we have is streamed on YouTube and it is live. You can also go back to catch up on any of the meetings that we've had in the past. Any old business? Any new business?
Would announcements count as new business?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
All right.
It's your time, girl.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So great to be here. My name is Christina Cover, and I'm on the Education, Youth, and Young Adult Services Committee. I'm a teacher in the Bronx, up by White Plains Road, 225th Street. So I take that 2 train every morning from 3rd Avenue. Sometimes you might see me running there. I'm late to work, but I just want to share that I have been part of a planning group for a job fair. So we have a youth job fair coming up on April 5th. It's going to be April 5th. From 10 to 3. Okay, please. We have worked hard. Thank you for promoting everyone. We're super excited for this. The reception has been great. We already have dozens of organizations signed up to attend, and we are well over, I think, 100 RSVPs, which is really, really awesome. So we need your support. We really want to get out there. We're going to be handing out the flyers. This is going to be at Dream Charter High School, right on Bruckner Boulevard. Dream Charter High School. It's going to be awesome to have opportunities for young people to learn about job opportunities and to get connected in the community. So I'm going to ask right now if you're interested at all in promoting, in volunteering, or even just learning more and sharing the flyer. If you could give me a hand raise or find me at the end, let me know. Okay, I see you. I thank you. I'm going to come right to you with the flyers, and I'll take your contact information and sign you up for volunteer opportunities. So thank you so much. Again, that's April 5th at Dream Charter High School. Thank you.
Thank you,
That's
Christina.
20 Bruckner Boulevard.
Thank you, Christina. And I would also say, like, if you know young people, please encourage them to attend. Any of the offices who are here are elected officials. If your office can come and be represented at the event, that would also be great. And if you have any information for our young people on how they can be involved with your elected office or with your elected, please bring that along so that our young people can begin to learn about civic engagement and get involved in the process. So thank you. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I have business.
Oh, Ramona has new business.
I just wanted to, let everybody know I will not be returning to the board. It's been a pleasure.
Here goes Mike, although you have a great voice.
So I'm ending my term with the board for personal and health reasons, and I just wanted to thank everyone for the lessons and the guidance and the mentorship. I will try to pop in, occasionally, because you guys are taking on really incredible stuff. And I want to encourage everyone to be as selfish as possible when it comes to fighting for the things that our community needs. We are so behind the rest of the city, and it's really unfair. And I know a lot of times it seemed like I was dragging meetings or making things last longer, but like every time that you ask for something more, it makes the experience better for the next generations. So please think about the next 7 generations every time that you fight for something or ask for something.
Thank you, Ramona. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Can I make that motion?
Ramona makes a
I make
motion.
a motion.
Can someone second that motion?
Go ahead,
Maura Gausman. Any discussions on the motion? Any abstentions? All in favor, say aye.
Hold on a minute.
It's Ghostman, and cosmetics, it goes.
Maura.
Not Ghostman, not.
Did I say?
You messed it up.
So I have a
Say it, say it. Grossman? Grossman.
question for you.
Yes.
I am supposed to be a part of the dialogue, but the conversation to Tuesday. But I told us, no, give me a finish the bottle. I'm wondering about communications and technology.
Yes.